Hey guys. All right. Continuing on with working these little boars now. I want to bring into my borathon, which is at 20 uses for most of those boars. And so this guy's a little younger than that. So I'm trying to use him up. I want to get good wet dry cycles because that'll help him to break in. And that's kind of what the other brushes have been through. And so I am doing this brush and then that Omega 80266. I'm doing those and then a Badger, and then repeat that cycle, and that way each of these guys will have 2 days of drying between, so we'll be able to get some uses out of these guys over this next week. The Nacet is what I'm going to be using with this, a 1936 Aristocrat, American made. Right now we're on use number 218, because the little flap right here has 7 dots, and so that's 217 is what we have on it already. I'll show it to you. The X goes on the bottom. If you've been watching my videos, these little 2 sprigs right there used to be part of an X. They're the top parts. In a recent video, I think the one prior to this one, I added these 3 dots as further identifying marks because I'm afraid that top of that X might fade. And so if it does, then we have these 3 dots that can carry on the kind of identification, validation part of things. And the weird thing, other than using this blade so many times, the weird thing I'm also doing is just a experiment. I am always shaving with this blade in the same position, the same orientation. The marks that you saw always go down toward the handle in whatever razor I'm using. Now, I have no idea what that's doing. I don't know if that is the secret to making a blade go so long. Maybe it's wearing a certain way that always enables it to have a nice cutting edge. I know there are other people who have taken blades like 300 times and things like that, so it's possible. But I'm also going to be able to see at the end, whenever I finally am done with this guy, with such extreme usage on this blade, I'll be able to maybe find somebody with a good microscope who can look at the edge. And something we'll be maybe able to tell is, does the edge change shape? Microscopically, the edge is kind of like this. If we look at it at the end of life and it's worn down, a certain amount to where it's no longer a peak or something, then we'll know that, rotating the blade may keep it in a more, symmetrical sharpness, sharp kind of shape. But if they measure it, they look at it, and it's still symmetrical, and there's just no directional wear, then that's really good proof that it just doesn't matter if you flip a blade while you're using it or not. Same edge, that sort of thing. And I think most people who are using blades 3, 5, 8, 10 times, it's not going to make a difference. There's just so little wear on those that I don't think it'll make a difference anyway. But I'm a curious, sciencey kind of guy, so that's why I'm doing that. 1438 is the brush from Semogue. The soap is Chiseled Face, a good brand. And Gearhead today is the scent. I've never tried this one before. It has notes, and I love the way Chiseled Face puts the essential notes on the front of their labels. Motor oil, new tires, and leather. So I'm looking forward to trying this guy out. Often Chiseled Face has a reasonably strong scents, and so I'm excited to try this guy out. Good performance. The base isn't as spectacular as some of the new creamy bases. It's got a little bit of a slickness to it that's kind of watery per se, but it does get the job done. It lays down a nice slick layer on your face. With the lather that's kind of on top of it is a little on the foamy, the airy side. So it's not a premium base, but it's what I think is that Chiseled Face has premium scents. A lot of the scents that I enjoy from Chiseled Face, you're not going to find anywhere else. And so I'm fine with it being a middle of the road kind of lather. Sterling is a better performing lather, more slick, viscous kind of type lather, and so many others. Of course, the top tier guys like Declaration Grooming, Barrister and Man, Holy Cow, Noble Otter, even kind of some of the lesser known that aren't quite top tier, Storybook, Summer Break, just terrific soaps. Bases, very slick bases. Zingari Man has got some great soaps out right now and really good bases. I've tried their vegan base as well as their tallow base. All right, I'm going to throw some water on my face. Get those hairs, get that stubble to start softening up. Again, wherever I am at this location, it's got my allergies going, so I'm sorry for the sniffles. I'll try to keep that to a minimum. Now, when I used Chiseled Face Midnight Stag for a month in August recently, I discovered that with the Boar brush that I had, we're looking at 7 seconds of loading. I used it day after day. If I were to bring this back and not use it every day, then obviously you might want to load a little bit longer, maybe 10 seconds. But for daily use, because the little bit of moisture would still be in there from the day before, 7 seconds was all I needed for 4 or 5 nice passes of lather. And some people just think that's crazy. And I figured out the math. I lost very little soap during the whole month. And a tub of this brand with this base is going to last me over a year. And it's an inexpensive soap. And that's why I think it's fair. Chiseled Face, the performance that I was talking about, not quite up to those guys. Well, this is an inexpensive soap. You're not paying as much as those guys. And so I think it's a good value. All right. Now this one's been used several times, at least. But we'll get that leather, definitely. A little bit of the new tires. Motor oil is a little bit more subdued. But let's go ahead and load up. And just for grins, let's do a 40-second load. Because, if I've got a year's worth of uses in here, I don't mind wasting some. Even if I load twice as much as if I need to. Just means I might have to mix for a little bit longer. All right. We will do we'll do a 30-second load. This is a pretty firm brush. We started at 21, so we'll go to 51. This is a pretty firm. It uses the extra grade bristles from Semogue. They do grade their different bristles. Omega doesn't. They have the same bristles, and they have ones that are unbleached, unbanded, and then ones that are bleached and banded. And it's the same bristles, just slightly different treatments. So that is 30 seconds, and I don't mind if a little bit escapes because the good stuff is in the brush. All right, let's see if that's, well, you know what, let's just to be sure, let's do 10 more seconds because this soap, I don't know how long it's been since it's been used. So just to be on the safe side, and so I'm not going back to the puck. And now I'm going to clean up these threads because this is the best time to do it. The extra grade bristles are not as soft as I'm pretty sure all the other grades that Semogue has, but I'm actually finding them comfortable on the face, and so not as soft. It's definitely a relative measurement. And the other ones are even softer. You got extra, you got best, you've got premium, then there's special, and they're all soft. This one just has a little bit more backbone, a little bit more scrub, and these are going to scrub pretty good now, but the softness is going to increase over the uses, because these tips, they're going to keep splitting, and every time a tip splits into multiple tips, you get more softness. And so it's enjoyable now, it's comfortable now, it's like a soft massage, and so it's going to get even better. Chiseled Face is also another brand of soap that's easy to lather. It's inexpensive, and so I can see how a lot of people might recommend this to new guys, new shavers. Scent is very welcome as it comes up to my nose. I'm glad that it's strong enough to do that. This is a small Boar brush. I've said it every time I've used it. I've got big hands, and this little thing, because of this indentation here where that black stripe is, it makes it does help to be able to hold it. If this knot goes like I think it will, maintaining the backbone pretty much, but getting super soft, I expect that I'm really going to enjoy this knot, and so I'm going to want to have it maybe in a more comfortable handle. So I'll just break off this handle and move it to something better. But as it is, it's a small little brush, little travel brush it might be good for, as long as you let it air out as much as you can. Synthetics are very good travel brushes because they don't have those same airing out problems. They don't mold and mildew like the animal brushes can. Refill the syringe. I am not using the syringe to put in a specified amount of water. I'm using the syringe so that I can just track how much water I put in to be able to communicate it with you. Because the amount of lather needs, the amount of soap needs is just going to depend on how much soap you have in your brush. And that's going to depend on your load time. It's going to depend on your brush size. It's going to depend on your bristle type. If the bristles are really soft, if the bristles are, if it's dense, if the bristles are firm and scratchy, then obviously they're going to pick up a lot of soap. And so I'm not trying to put in a specific amount. I just put in until it looks right. And then at the end, I'm able to tell you. So that if you're having trouble lathering up your chiseled face, for instance, maybe this video can help you do that. And also, it's for my own logs, because if I have a bad lather, then I can look back and say, wow, I put in too much. The lather looked right, but then by the time I got it to my face, it was too wet. And so then the measurement, I can then put less in next time, if I know the amount. Now, Chiseled Face, I believe it is a soap that I need to run just a little firmer, a little drier than I might normally like. So I need to try to remember that. So we're probably getting close to that point. 4 teaspoons is what, 3.5 is what we have in the soap now, in the lather now. Yeah, that new tires. And new tires and leather, man, those scents really go together. This is a terrific scent. I think I'm able to smell a little bit of the oil now. It blends in nicely with these other guys. It's not so distinctive that it stands out on its own. All right, so I'm going to kind of show you the viscosity of this guy here. We can use a drop technique like that to show you the peak shape, how it dropped. Now, if you've got less lather, it may be different. The peak size may be different. However, if I do a pull like this, see, that's actually kind of short in terms of the peak. So let's just add a little, let's feel it. Yeah, let's add just a little bit more water. At this location, the water is fairly soft from what I understand. I'm going to add in 1 more teaspoon. So now we are at 4.5 teaspoons. And yeah, that's definitely more than I usually have to use with Chiseled Face. And it's just because I loaded for longer. More soap means more water for the same consistency. Now, I'm going to rinse. And if you have a goatee and you know that you've got a lather that's pretty much right where you want it and not too wet, too dry, then make sure you get the water out of your goatee. I've had that mess up my lather consistency before. See, this is a nice soft brush already. And it doesn't have a lot of split tips yet. It's a small brush, and so if you want to use it for your head as well as your face, you may have to go back to the puck. It may not hold enough lather for that. Yeah, this lather looks great. Feels good. Consistency looks good for this soap, and you can swipe back and forth like this and pay attention to the lines here on your neck. I've said this for a couple of years now, but those are some milestones, some indicators to show your lather viscosity. If you get clumps in the lines, that tells you something. Now, clumps are fine if you do have to run that certain lather a little drier than you might normally. But often clumps mean that you need more water in your lather. Nice massage feel, but man, there's just no scratch or scritch with this brush at all. And so even their firmest grade brushes from Semogue are still comfortable, soft and enjoyable. And so if you do like scritch and scratch and all that stuff, Semogue's not going to be the brush maker for you. I would maybe recommend an Omega, specifically one that is unbleached, unbanded, a very natural looking fiber. My 10098 is that way. It's got a long bristle though, and so if you like a long loft, then that might be a good one for you. My Stirling Boar brush is also similar. It's been very resistant to break-in, maintaining its scrub. So we're testing out how this 1936 vintage Gillette is working with this high use blade. A little bit of tugging. Now the 36 is important because it's the model that was the first ever twist to open, TTO. It's the second kind of version of that model. The 1934 was the first. And I do have a 34, but I like the shave a little nicer on the 36. I think they figured out a few things and bent the blade a little more. I think the 34 has the blade a little bit more of a flatter trajectory. So this is smoother, more comfortable shave, still very efficient. Just a little bit of tug in there, not a problem at all. And rinse. Now other blades may remove more stubble on that first pass, but even with this older blade, the second pass almost makes up for it. I mean, it really does make up for it without too much of a problem at all. And then the second pass will be very comfortable and smooth, and the third will be even better, even with such an old blade. And I know this because I've done it many times. Cross grain now on my face. So amazing how they were able to figure out such nice geometry so early on. So before the 1934 and this type of razor, it was all either straight razors, of course, or three-piece razors like the standard, the old type. So again, nice glide, nice slickness, not a lot of secondary slickness, and so you've got just a short time to buff an area before it's a problem. You would need to re-lather if you want to repeat on an area that you haven't gone back to quickly. Love the scent. It's still not super strong right now. I'd say it's at maybe a 4 or a 5. We'll say a 5. Get the brush ready here, but I forgot to rinse, so I'll do that. Now, Chiseled Face is not one that's going to give you a lot of luxury feel during the rinses, and that I'm sure relates to the fact that it doesn't have a lot of residual slickness. Man, this scent is just tremendous. I like this. A lot of character, manliness, that sort of thing. Of course, if you're a mechanic, and you're a lady, and you like those sorts of things, then I guess it would be applicable to you as well. You get a lot of enjoyment from it. But nice, smells good. Now, I'm sure my wife wouldn't want to have me use the splash of this. She's definitely not a fan of the Midnight Stag either. And so I will just enjoy using this in the soap form, because soaps are generally for you to use and enjoy the scent during the shave, and most soaps don't provide much in terms of scent strength to last beyond the shave. There are some really pungent ones that do. Those are usually ones that I don't like because the scent is just so weird. Like Taylor of Old Bond Street Sandalwood. Shaved with that one time and one only time. I didn't smell any sandalwood in it. All I smelled was just kind of a synthetic detergent-like smell. Now I realize maybe there are some fans out there. It is kind of their flagship product, but man, I don't like that smell at all. And I just couldn't even, well, I call it sandalwood, when I couldn't even find any sandalwood in the scent at all. But I think that's maybe how the Europeans do sandalwood. They add in other stuff and call it sandalwood. All right, so that's 3 passes. Face feels great. I don't feel any irritation. Looks like I'm getting a pretty good cut. This is my trouble spot where I get the worst performance from any blade that I have. So if I get cut here nicely, a nice close cut, then I know everywhere else is great. So let me rinse. So yeah, this area definitely needs more work. So let's do a neck only pass. Face is in good shape. It would be interesting to see. Well, you know, I think I kind of called this one a while back. Maybe around 80 uses or 70 or something like that. As I saw that I wasn't really getting any irritation from the blade, I predicted that when this blade finally gave up, we're going to pull the skin just a little bit. You don't want to over tighten. Just pull it to the side, and I'm going to lift my chin away from the direction my hand is pulling. And then for me right here, this is a cross grain pass in this small area. I've got some twists and turns, and so if I were to shave this area the same way, it's an against the grain pass. But I predicted that when this blade dies, it'll be because the shave is not what I need it to be. The close cutting is just not close enough. Or maybe it's close enough and it just might take too many passes to get there. Maybe we're starting to kind of see that. It all depends, because right now this is one touch-up pass. I don't mind doing one touch-up pass. I can't go against the grain with my neck area. It gives me irritation. I think it lifts up on my stubble and brings the skin in contact with the blade, you know. I get cuts and irritation. I'm going to go ahead and put one more pass here. Oh man, the scent on that's so good. I am loving that. I'm so glad I happened upon that. I think it came in a few soaps that I was focused on getting a certain soap, and this was just part of it, and I'm so glad it was. This area around here is usually gotten pretty well, so I kind of don't need to shave this. Now, sometimes my Adam's apple right here will have a little bit of... All right, again, kind of the same technique for me, and it took me a while to figure this out. Pulling, chin away. Watch the angle. And there we go. Let's just see what kind of closeness I got with that. I don't think I have too much irritation right now, so that's good. And a good rinse. That's an acceptable shave. 2 passes, I'm fine with that. 2 touch-up passes in that area. I'm okay with that because it is giving me a good close cut. Not super close, but many jobs would be fine with this level of closeness right here. Probably not some of your high-profile type jobs, but that's what we're going for. So, in terms of this blade lasting long, I'm going to say that 200 might have been the point where the quality right here kind of took a dive with this blade. a slight, let's not dive, that's too extreme. A slight breakdown, a slight decrease in quality, in the closeness, where it just took more work to get this cut right here. Maybe when right before I shifted away from the timeless was, and maybe I'll go back to the timeless and try that again and see if the quality snaps back. I was getting fewer hairs with a little bit of length on them, you know. Back then I could say few. Right now I have to say kind of several, or a few more than several is the stage I'm in now. And so if you're 200 seems like about, for at least my beard, that's a time in which maybe a professional shave is left behind, a strong professional shave. And this is kind of a working man shave, where you're not quite under as much scrutiny as some jobs. Well, how much lather do I have left over? Maybe, I bet I could do 3 passes with that if I wanted to. This is another one that's kind of the micro bubble type lathers. You can sometimes see it a little easier in the bowl because the gray can show the tiny, 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 tiny bubbles. And there's nothing wrong with that. As I've said, this lays down a nice slick layer on your skin, nice protective layer. I feel very protected when I'm using this. Oh yeah, let's see if you can zoom in on that. This lather, this soap base can also take even more water. If you want to thin it down even more, you can do that. I prefer kind of a creamy feel, close to a creamy feel. And so this is probably the perfect hydration level for me. It felt great on my face. It worked really well with the brush. And so for me, and it gave me great slickness, and that's what I need, and that's what I like. So we got some extra passes there. So I did basically a 4-pass shave, and then I've got 3 there. So yeah, I did like a 40-second load, I think, as it turns out, and that gave me 7 passes of lather. Plenty. And then I did not use any more water. And so that means that 4.5 teaspoons is what it took to build that lather. So let's look at this little brush. I have stropped him with a towel. I shook him out, rinsed him really well, shook him out, and stropped him with a towel just to kind of start the drying process. And once you do that, there's not really any drops of water in the brush anymore. And so it doesn't matter if you try to use gravity to let it dry, or if you set it on its base. Same thing, same drying, doesn't matter. And so I wanted to show you the little cracks there in the paint. This is inside its wood with an enamel painted outside, and I don't mind that this happened. It happened because I soaked this brush in water that was too high. It came up past the bristles, and that's my mistake. If you keep the water down low where the bristles are, then this will stay really nice and fine. The water got up into the wood and it made it swell, which is why then it cracked. Now I think it kind of gives it a little bit of character, so I don't mind at all. And I'm definitely not getting any cracks around here because that has never been in water or anything like that. So this, as you can see, he's starting to splay a little bit more. A few more tips are splitting as it'll dry. More tips will split. If this type of knot sounds good to you, if you like the more firmness, the backbone, and the nice scrub, but still the soft tips, then obviously the 1438 here is going to be a good option for you. The 620 is a Semogue brush that has these same bristles, and it has an acrylic handle. That one's going to probably last a little bit longer than the wooden handle. Obviously, it's not going to do any splitting or anything like that. I like this one a little better for bowl lathering, even though it's still a short handle. I'm able to use it pretty well for bowl lathering because of this little indentation. I have used the Semogue acrylic handle before. It's great if you are a face latherer. But when I had a bowl and I was trying to hold on to that acrylic handle. It's such a short handle that I was having to have a death grip because it got so slippery. And so I don't really recommend that for bowl lathering. But if you like this knot and you want to maybe go for a face lathering type brush that's going to last you a nice long time, then I recommend the 620 from Semogue, because it's got the same quality bristles, same type of backbone you're going to experience. Good brush. Really happy with it. The scent, it's still on me. It's great. It's light right now. It's not strong at all. If I were to pull somebody in here and ask them if it was strong, they may disagree. They may say it was actually quite strong, but to me at least, it doesn't seem super strong. So that's just a wow. I'm really glad I have this soap. Today for aftershave, I'm going to throw on some Stirling Texas on Fire. We are going, the wife's not around tomorrow, and so I am going for the manly stuff that she doesn't enjoy. I'm in that puzzle competition. If you're a regular viewer, the 2019 from Declaration Grooming, you're trying to guess the scent notes. I'm getting a little bit of stinging down here, but it's minimal. And this is a real woody, burned wood type scent. Man, I love it. The soap for this is amazing. I'm a big, big fan of that one. One of my favorite Stirling scents. Woody, really good match, in my opinion, with this Gearhead soap from Chiseled Face. And I like the fact that Stirling does not have menthol. All right, well, it's a pretty good little shaver. It does require 2 touch-up passes for this area. They are comfortable passes. I didn't generate any irritation, so that's good. And let's clean up. Man, I forgot how good that Texas on Fire is. I'm appreciating it in a new way. The burned wood just seems really authentic and just right in my face. Maybe some notes in the Gearhead are helping me to appreciate that more. Who knows? But I'm enjoying that. All right, so I think tomorrow, I think I used the Omega yesterday. And so then tomorrow's going to be a badger of some sort. Lately I've been trying the Yaki silver tip badger, kind of a budget badger, and I think I like it pretty well. It's not super soft like maybe a golden nib or a whipped dog, but it is. It seems like it's going to work out pretty well for the price, especially. So that's coming. Just 2 more uses now until 220. Little mini milestone for this Nacet blade. Love the soap today. Love the scent of the aftershave as well. The performance of this razor was terrific. They made UK versions of this razor as well, and they are, if it's open comb and it's silver, then it's like it might be the 15. They numbered theirs over in the UK. If it is a solid bar here, then it's likely to be a 16. If the base plate is solid, the 15 and 16 have solid base plates. You see that bevel right here, that diamond pattern bevel? The UK Aristocrats, that's something to tell them apart. And the diamond bevel means it's for a less expensive version. If it's a solid, then it could be the 15 or the 16, depending on open comb or closed. If it is a diamond bevel type base plate like this one, then it's going to be, with the open comb, it's likely to be a 21. And then with the closed comb, it's likely to be maybe, I think, a 66. Might be the Aristocrat notations there for the English versions. And all those models I really enjoy shaving with. Big fan of the UK Aristocrats as well. Really enjoy shaving with those. I think we're good. This is Sugar Daddy Shaves, and I hope there's been something here during this shave to help you out. You take care. Have a good night.